What's up, Professor Wergles here. We are making our way down through the checklist of making a production server. If you're able to follow along, these are almost the same requirements as the challenge. So by following along, we're essentially going over the challenge. So good job on making this far. We got a little bit left. We just set up a Ubuntu 18 instance. We updated it. We added a new user. We changed the host. We changed the time zone. We're now able to SSH to our new user. So if you've made it this far, the command that you see on my screen, and actually let me clear this out so it's easier to see. The command you see here, SSH-I with the key pair to Wergles and an EC2 user, or sorry, EC2.AmazonAWS.com should work. Click enter, and it works successfully. That's great. What we're going to do next is we're going to disable root logins. Okay, if somebody can log in as the root, they have full access to your server, and a lot of bad things could happen. So we want to prevent that. Okay, we want to prevent that. So what are we going to do? Well, the first things first is you should have a password to the root. Even if they could log into Ubuntu, even if they could log into Wergles N or any user you create, as soon as you log in, if you just do a sudo su dash, hit enter. Okay, I have to type in the password for Wergles N because I did the sudo, but you'll see it went over. Even if I switch over to the Ubuntu instance, so if I do a sudo dash switch user over to Ubuntu, okay, type in your sudo password for Wergles N. Make sure it's the right password. And then I do a sudo dash su dash. You can see I can also switch over to the root. Or if I do escape, even if I do a sudo dash I can switch over to the root. And let's say you have 10, 100, thousands of people in your company. You don't want them going over to the root account because once they have the access to the root account, they can do anything to your server. So first things first, we need to set a password for the root. Okay, so I'm in the root account and I'm going to type pass, WD for password, and I'm going to change it, -L for the root. Let's see, I don't need the -L. You can actually just do pass WD space root, and it's going to ask you to enter the password. So we're going to type the password. Okay, if I want to delete the password, you do a -L. So I did a -L, and you'll see the password information has changed, meaning I deleted the old password, but technically there wasn't any password, and now I'm setting up a new password. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type it. For now, this is for a class project, and you don't want to have to remember too many passwords because if you forget this password, you're going to have problems later as well. So I actually recommend to use the same password for this class, although I would not recommend that for a production server. What you could do if you want to follow the production guidelines would be to have two separate passwords. You have one for your user account and another one for your root user. But I don't want you to forget these. So either have two different passwords and write them down or use the same password. Okay, but for a production server, for my business server, you always set a different password and make sure it's complicated. Just like you do when you're creating an account. Make sure you have a letter. Make sure you have a special character. Make sure you have lowercase and uppercase. Make sure you have numbers. Okay, so go ahead and set a hard password. But make sure you remember it. Okay, it's not going to be easy to get back into the root user. Let's see, it looks like I typed that wrong, so I'm going to go ahead and do it again. Make sure they're typed the same. Now password is updated successfully. Okay, so I've successfully updated the password. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do after setting a root password is we're going to switch over to the root access if you haven't already. So it's just a sudo su dash. Okay, if you want to see the password, you could just do it su dash and then type the root password. Okay, then it allows you to go in. So the password is working successfully. And now we're going to disable root logins over SSH. I don't want anybody to try to hack into my server and log in as the root, okay, because it would be a disaster. You get full control when you're the root. So I'm going to VI, and since I'm root user, I don't have to do sudo, although a lot of times I will type sudo. I'm going to go into etc SSH. I'm going to go into SSHD underscore config. So I need to look at that file. Now this is a huge file. Okay, you're going to see a lot of information in here. But what you want to do is you want to scroll down until you see permit root login. Okay, I actually just went by it, but let's see here. We have password authentication, no. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see X level forwarding, yes. Okay, you should see all of the information. So if I keep going up, I actually passed it earlier. Okay, we're going to change permit root login, which is right here, permit root login. So it's on line 32 for me. I'm going to click on I for insert, and I'm going to click on delete or backslash. So now it's not commented out. That hashtag means it's commented out. I'm permitting root login, and I'm going to switch that to no. Okay, I'm going to switch it to no. But actually, let's go ahead and give it a quick test. Let's go ahead and give it a quick test. In a production server, I'd switch to no. Right now, I'm going to put yes for now. Let's give it a quick test. So I'm going to click yes, and then I'm going to click escape, shift colon, you can do WQ or X, and I'm going to save that file. So I'm switching it to yes. I'm going to go back, exit to my local machine. I'm going to SSH, and I'm going to try to SSH right into the root. Okay, I'm going to try to SSH right into the root. I put yes, so let's see if it works. Okay, you'll see here, please log into Ubuntu rather than the user root. Even though I said yes to root logins in the config file, you'll see the connection was closed. In fact, I was blocked. So what happened here? Okay, you're going to see a message saying that login as Ubuntu, not root, but that's something that I didn't do. So let's go back. Let's log in as Worgleyzen or your PopRent. Go ahead and switch over to the admin user. Okay, admin user has a password now. And let's go ahead and see what's happening here. So I'm in the root account, and I'm going to open up. So I'm going to use Vim. You could use Nano, the SSH authorized keys file. And look what we have here. No port forwarding, no agent forwarding, no Alex forwarding, command echo. Please log in as user Ubuntu rather than user root. Echo sleep for 10 seconds. And then here's the SSH public key for that PIM file. So this is one thing I like about Amazon AWS. If you go to GoDaddy or some of the other ones like Linode, it's a basic server. They don't do hardly anything for you. They may be a little bit better now than when I was trying them out recently, but it's just a bare server. They don't do any of this for you, but Amazon does. They already have scripts that take care of this for you that pretty much, they don't really do a production server quality, but they do these little things like disabling root logging, even if you try to go and change the configuration file to help protect your server. So it makes it really nice. That's one reason I really like Amazon AWS. They have these built-in functionality. Okay, so you'll see this is already created, and even if I change the config, it's still going to disable root logins, which is nice. So it added an extra layer of security for us. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete this. Okay, I'm going to delete this. What you could do is you could copy it if you want to put it back. We're going to disable root logins in the configuration file, so it's not going to be possible anyway. But it is nice that Amazon added this extra feature for us. So I'm going to delete the information before SSH-RSA. I'm going to go to the end of the file. On my keyboard, I have an end key that goes to the end of the line. Otherwise, you have to hold the right arrow and go over to the end of the line, because even though this is shown on 3 lines, it's actually only on 1. And you can also remove the information back here. This is just the name of the key pair file. Okay, so technically all you need is the public key. Although having the name of the key pair file is nice. That way, it's another added layer of security. Okay, each added layer of security is going to make your instance more secure. So it's better to have each layer of security. So you can delete this line or keep it. I'm going to go ahead and delete it just to show you what the bare minimum requirements that you need. So it's just a public key. So I'm going to hit escape and I'm going to hit X. Now we can copy that line. So before you escape, if I hit U, you can undo. Okay, so you see U is undo already to the oldest change. I can copy this real quick. Control C, maybe paste it in a text file. Maybe store it somewhere so that you can change it back later. Okay, U is undo. If I hit R, let's see, or actually it would be Control R. So if I hit Control R, it should do a redo. Let's open it up. It doesn't look like the redo was working. I'm not sure why. I'll just go ahead and delete this real quick. What I want to do is I want to log in as the root. I want to show you that it's possible. We need to take out this little bit of information that Amazon has added. You could leave the key pair file name there. I'm taking it out for now. I'll put it back in later. Now I can exit, come back to my local machine, click up, try to SSH as the root like we did before. Instead of getting that message, now it should work. Let's see what happened. Public private key. Did I mess up that authorized keys? I think I nipped the back of the key there. So let me log back in. I'm going to VI SSH, authorized keys. One thing that you could do is you could quit and then go over to your regular user and VI the authorized keys to see if it's the same. Looks the same to me. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Escape. You can do a :Q exclamation to do a force quit without saving. Go back over to the root user. VI authorized keys. If you do a DD, it deletes the whole line. Click I for insert, Command V for paste, escape, :X for save and quit. Try to exit again and see if we can SSH. Okay, that's SSHing as Worgley's End. Let's see if we can SSH as root. Okay, now it works. So I must have clipped something off the key or deleted something by accident, or I may have had a space there at the beginning that would have messed things up. It needs to be line for line the same. Now that it works, you see that I can SSH as the root, which is very dangerous. Okay, you do not want to have root logins on a production server. So now that we're the root user, let's go ahead and disable them. You saw we changed it to yes. We can go back and change them to no. So I'm going to do a VI into etc sshd underscore config. Click I for insert. Get rid of yes. Change it to no. Click escape to stop inserting. Shift : WQ or X to save the file. Okay, now I switched it to no. And I will go ahead and see if I can log in. Now, the other thing, actually, I need to come back in. The other thing we need to make sure is that it says password authentication equal to no. Okay, which it does by default. So if we put yes here, essentially we can log in and then just type our password instead of having the PIM file. Okay, so we could log in with a password instead of the PIM file. By putting no here, you're not allowed a password and you need to have the PIM file. Okay, so make sure password authentication is set to no, and make sure permit root login is set to no. This is the most secure way to set up our configuration file for SSH. Okay, now to make sure things are working correctly, it's good to go ahead and restart the SSH daemon service. So what I'm going to do is sudo, but actually I'm the root, so I don't need sudo. I'm going to do service SSH restart. I changed the config file. You saw earlier I set it to yes, it worked. We want to make sure everything's going to work without bugs, so let's go ahead and restart the daemon service for SSH. It worked. If I do exit, go back to my local SSH's root, okay, you're going to see permission denied. I changed the permit root login to no, so now I'm not able to log in as the root. So it's working successfully. Okay, it's working successfully. We still have a few things left. We need to install fail to ban. It's another added layer of security. I'm going to talk about what fail to ban is and show you how to set it up in the next video.